On February 14, 2026, a sealed envelope arrived at Kensington Palace. Silence filled the halls. Prince William held it in trembling hands, knowing the contents could change everything. Whispers spread through the staff, cameras flashed outside, and every phone pinged with breaking news alerts. The DNA inside wasn't just a test, it could rewrite the story of the royal family forever. But what shocking secret did it reveal, and how would Meghan react once she finally saw it? The morning sun barely lit the golden halls of Kensington Palace when a sudden hush fell over the staff. Footsteps echoed down the long corridors. Phones vibrated with alerts, and a faint whisper ran through the aides. Prince William received a small, sealed envelope. The wax seal glinted under the chandelier. He held it carefully, knowing that palace rules meant only urgent and highly sensitive matters were delivered this way. Everyone froze, sensing the tension. Outside, cameras clicked and paparazzi whispered, eager for any hint of news. The envelope was rumored to contain information about Meghan, but no one knew the details. William paused, his hand trembling slightly, the paper heavy in his grip. According to palace protocol, the envelope had to stay private, yet every second that passed made the anticipation worse. Staff glanced at one another nervously. Was this about a legal matter? Or something even more personal? Inside, the letter promised answers, but not immediately. It carried the weight of months of secrecy, the kind that could shake the family if revealed too soon. The palace, usually calm and orderly, felt alive with unease. William took a deep breath. The first step toward discovering the truth had begun, but the answer wasn't in the envelope yet, it was in the reaction it caused. What could be inside that letter to shake the royal family? And that first glimpse would change how William looked at Meghan forever. The palace felt colder now. Phones buzzed non-stop, and staff whispered as they passed the hallways. Cameras outside clicked rapidly, capturing every shadow that moved behind the curtains. Prince William carefully opened the envelope. Inside were sheets of paper stamped by an accredited UK genetics lab, dated January 30, 2026. The letters and numbers on the page were not just data, they were results of a DNA test, a test that can show family relationships. DNA is like a secret code inside our bodies that tells who is related to whom. William's hands trembled slightly. According to palace protocol, these results were meant to remain completely confidential until a proper decision was made. Yet the stakes were higher than normal. Rumors suggested this test involved Meghan, and the numbers could confirm or challenge everything people believed. Staff exchanged tense glances. Whispers floated. Could it affect the royal line? Is it true? Every moment seemed longer, and the palace clock ticked loudly in the silence. The sheets contained complex information, but even a simple glance hinted at something serious. William leaned closer, reading the sequences again. His aides claimed to sense the tension rising, their hands fidgeting, their eyes wide. Cameras outside captured flashes from a distance. The public would never know the details yet, but insiders felt the weight immediately. Here's the twist. Even though William now had answers in front of him, the most shocking part wasn't clear yet. The DNA was only a number on a page. Its meaning, what it would do to relationships, protocols, and family trust, was still a mystery. Every second that passed increased pressure for a decision. How could a DNA test change the royal family's future? Because the next move doesn't happen in public. Across the Atlantic, in Montecito, California, a different kind of tension filled the air. The morning sun reflected off the windows of Meghan's villa, but inside, silence dominated. Phones buzzed constantly, and aides whispered as they passed notes. Meghan was pacing. Her team reportedly claimed she was anxious, writing down questions and checking messages repeatedly. The villa, usually calm and quiet, now felt like a storm trapped in a room. The DNA results were on their way, or at least, William had already received them. Meghan knew that what was coming could change everything. DNA, the secret code inside every person's body, can show family connections. This one could confirm personal truths that might not have been known before. Allegedly, Meghan had prepared for questions from her team, but not for the possibility that William would see the results first. Here's the twist. The anticipation itself added pressure. Every knock on the door, every phone alert, seemed louder. Staff reported her expressions shifting, eyes narrowing, pauses in conversation, quick scribbles. Social media buzzed quietly in the background, with rumors already starting to swirl, even though nothing official was confirmed. The tension wasn't just about numbers on paper, it was about relationships, trust, and public perception. Even from thousands of miles away, Meghan reportedly felt the weight of history and expectation pressing down. The palace in London had its own rules, but this was personal. She had to decide how to act once William confronted her. Could she stay calm? Could she control the situation before it spilled into the press? Every moment was crucial, and every heartbeat seemed to echo the urgency in Kensington. How would Meghan respond to William's demand for answers? And that detail changes what happens next. The corridors of Kensington Palace felt unusually quiet. Footsteps echoed sharply on the marble floors. Phones vibrated in pockets, and the faint sound of whispers filled the air. Staff exchanged tense glances. Prince William held the DNA results in his hand again, reading and rereading the sequences. Every number, every letter on the page carried the weight of a possible family secret. Cameras outside clicked relentlessly, reporters' voices murmuring in anticipation. The palace rules were clear. Confidential documents like this must stay private until an official statement. But some secrets could not wait. Here's the twist: the results weren't just numbers. They were deeply personal truths that could affect trust, relationships, and even the royal line of succession. According to the palace protocol, William should have consulted advisors first. But emotions made the decision urgent. Staff reported the room was thick with tension, pauses so long they felt like hours, glances exchanged, whispers that could carry the weight of scandal. Every second passed like a drumbeat, louder and louder. William faced a choice: follow the official rules or confront Meghan directly. The palace had rules about confidentiality, hierarchy, and protocol. But family matters often broke these rules. Staff reported a mix of fear and curiosity. The secrecy inside the palace felt like a pressure cooker. Meanwhile, the outside world had no idea of the tension building. Social media speculated, but no facts were confirmed. Each step William took required caution, but hesitation risked letting rumors escape. Here's another twist: the deeper he looked into the results, the more he realized the implications weren't only personal, they could change how the public viewed the royal family. Family loyalty and public duty clashed in every heartbeat. Every aide understood that one misstep could explode into a full-scale scandal. William needed a strategy, but even strategy could not remove the emotional weight. The palace felt like a stage where every move was watched, every pause analyzed. Will William follow the rules, or confront Meghan directly? But the story doesn't end there. This is where it turns. The palace was unusually still. Footsteps echoed faintly, and phones in pockets buzzed quietly, almost like a warning. Prince William stared at the paper in front of him, a paper stamped by an accredited UK genetics lab, with a secondary verification check reported by a different lab. The date at the top read January 30th, 2026. His eyes traced the sequences over and over. The numbers weren't just random, they told a story. DNA, the secret code inside every human body, can show who is related to whom. And now, that code had revealed something shocking. Big reveal. The results confirmed a truth that was different from what many had assumed. According to the verified labs, the DNA indicated a family connection that had been questioned but never proven. William froze, trying to absorb it all. Staff whispered softly behind him, tension thick in the air. Allegedly, Meghan's team, watching from Montecito, California, was equally shocked, reportedly scrambling to prepare for the coming conversation. Cameras outside flashed relentlessly, though the world still had no official confirmation. Here's the twist: even though the results provided answers, they created more questions. How should this change the family's public image? Could trust survive between William and Meghan? Social media was already buzzing, speculation growing faster than verified facts. Every moment felt urgent. Decisions had to be made in hours, not days. The palace, usually calm, now seemed like a pressure cooker. William's heartbeat quickened. The staff reported whispers about the line of succession, about what public statements would be necessary, about the potential for a scandal. Each fact carried consequences that could affect generations. The numbers on that page were simple, but their meaning was enormous. Relationships, duty, and reputation were now tangled in ways no one could ignore. Every aide, every family member, felt the weight of history pressing down. The real question lingered: how would this truth reshape alliances within the family, and who could control the story once it spread? The tension inside the palace was almost unbearable. One misstep, one word spoken too loudly, and everything could unravel. Could this truth tear the family apart, or force them closer? And that's where the real trap is hidden. By February 15, 2026, the palace was no longer a quiet, controlled place. Phones buzzed constantly, emails piled up, and every hallway echoed with hurried footsteps. Cameras clicked and flashed outside Kensington Palace, reporters whispering and scribbling as they tried to catch any sign of news. Staff reported a tense atmosphere, their hands fidgeting, voices lowered to urgent whispers. Prince William and his aides were aware that the world was watching, even if nothing official had been released. The DNA revelation from the previous day, confirmed by an accredited UK genetics lab, had already begun to leak into rumors. Social media platforms were flooded with speculation. Hashtags trended globally. Analysts from British tabloids, international news agencies, and even gossip columns debated what it all meant. The palace had yet to issue a statement. Official silence, however, only fueled the frenzy. Cameras outside flashed relentlessly, and every movement, every expression of the royals, was captured and analyzed. Here's the twist: while the public focused on gossip and conjecture, the real stress inside the palace was human. Staff reported whispering behind closed doors, tense pauses as advisors considered the timing of any announcement, and urgent phone calls to media consultants. Every second that passed increased pressure on William and Meghan. Every glance at a flashing camera reminded them that even a small mistake could become a headline worldwide. Meanwhile, Meghan's team in Montecito, California, reportedly monitored the storm closely. Her aides claimed she was preparing talking points, deciding what she could confirm and what she needed to keep private. The tension was mirrored across the ocean. Even minor decisions, what to say, where to appear, who to meet, felt like high-stakes moves in a chess game where the whole world watched. The palace staff knew that controlling the story would be almost impossible. Every rumor amplified the DNA revelation's impact, making it harder to protect family privacy. Yet they tried, carefully managing each statement and press interaction. But then another wave of speculation hit the media. Rumors about the line of succession, trust, and family loyalty began to spread faster than facts. The palace walls could no longer keep the outside world at bay. How could the palace control the story, or could they at all? Because the next move doesn't happen in public. Inside Kensington Palace, a private family meeting took place on February 16, 2026. The air was thick with tension. Footsteps echoed softly, and phones were turned off. Staff reported whispered arguments and long pauses, each person weighing what to say. Prince William, Meghan, and family advisors gathered in a grand room where every decision mattered. The palace rulebook guided them, but emotions often outweighed the rules. Here's the twist: the DNA results had already shocked the family, and now the challenge was deciding what to do next. Every word spoken could affect public perception, personal trust, and even royal protocol. According to palace advisors, the discussions included whether to make a public statement, how to manage media speculation, and what steps could preserve family unity. Every pause and glance carried meaning. Staff described the room as tense, almost electric, with everyone aware that even a small misstep could become a major scandal. William reportedly considered both duty and loyalty, trying to balance palace rules with family feelings. Meghan's team was listening closely, preparing responses. The pressure of history and public expectation weighed heavily on every person in the room. Decisions were urgent, and the silence between conversations was as loud as the chatter outside. Would they resolve the crisis, or would this split become permanent? The real answer wasn't in the rules, it was in the hearts of those involved. The palace was quieter now, but the tension remained. Footsteps echoed softly, phones were still, and cameras outside flashed in bursts. Prince William and Meghan, along with their advisors, weighed the consequences of the DNA revelation. The public and media were watching closely, waiting for official statements. The palace had issued a careful press release, but it revealed very little. No official confirmation was given about the details of the DNA results. Here's the twist: while facts were scarce, the DNA results had already begun to shape public discussion. The line of succession, a reported concern, now had whispers of possible changes. Social media debated family trust and royal duties. Analysts tried to interpret what the palace might do next. Every decision, even private ones, carried consequences for decades to come. Inside the palace, staff reported an unusual mix of relief and tension. Decisions had been made about immediate next steps, but long-term impacts were uncertain. William and Meghan faced the challenge of protecting family unity while also preparing for public scrutiny. Cameras outside continued to flash, but the real story had moved inside. The DNA revelation had answered the main mystery, but its consequences would unfold slowly, shaping relationships, trust, and legacy for years. What does this mean for the future of the royal family? And that's where the real trap is hidden. What do you think? Did William make the right choice confronting Meghan first? How would you feel if a private family secret like this came out to the public? Which palace rule mattered most in this crisis? Share your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear every opinion. And don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on every shocking royal secret as it unfolds. Every week, we break down the latest news, the hidden stories, and the moments the world wasn't meant to see.